I'm your host, Constance Terrell. This is season 3, episode 3. The topic is all things parenting. I have 3 amazing guests that I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves. I'm going to start from bottom to top. So, Sean Nicole, go ahead and do a little small introduction to the people who you
Oh, I'm shy. I mean,
are. That's family right there.
yeah.
So next, Indigo, I believe she's in the middle, y'all. I can't really see this. Go ahead and do a small introduction.
Hello everybody. I'm Indigo Manning. I am married of 7 years now, and I'm a mother of 4. So I have background in early childhood development as well. So I have a little bit of experience and knowledge to bring to the conversation today. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Last but not least, Mr. Robert Lawwell.
What's going on, everybody? Robert Webb, be live from New Braunfels, Texas. I am married, and I have this family, 5 kids. 2 are biologically mine, so all together I have 3 girls. 2 they're not boys, they're grown.
I love that. I love that. I love that. Again, I thank you guys for accepting this invitation. And I've been really growing up on this a couple of weeks, but I think this conversation that's about to be had is very relevant now because of what's going on. But before we get into the questions, the icebreaker question is: in the childhood song "Ring Around the Rosie," what was her pockets filled with?
Posies.
What is a posy? Like, what is it?
That nursery rhyme is actually a curse.
Really?
Yes.
Didn't it have something to do with like the Black Plague or something? It was something.
Teach me something.
Yeah.
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 Teach me. So I did not know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, Constance.
No, I didn't. You don't know? No, I wouldn't even ask that. That's yellow.
Yeah. Well, now you know. You learn something new every day.
No, that's facts. Thank you, for that. So, whoever wants to go first, the first question is: when did you first become a parent, and what are the ages and genders of your children?
I guess I'll go first because I was probably the youngest. I'm sure. I was 17 when I became a mom. My son is 13 and my daughter is 8.
Okay. I didn't know that. 17.
Yeah, girl. Oof.
I feel so old, but yeah. When did you the other two? When did you guys become a parent, and what are the genders of you guys?
So I got pregnant at 21. I was 22 by the time I had my first child, so 22. And I have 3 boys, 9, 4, and 2, and 1 girl, 4 months.
Okay.
I was 7 years old, and I had my first child. And I have, again, biologically, I have 2 daughters. 27 when I became a father.
He was smart.
Mm-hmm. Very.
Listen,
Very
that
much
was
so.
the Lord. That was the Lord.
Yeah, because ooh.
I didn't say I wanted to have kids at 27. I was actually surprised that I did have kids at 27.
No,
I thought I'd have them much earlier than that, but that did not happen. So when it did happen, I was like, okay.
so were y'all prepared to be a parent, and were your kids playing?
Absolutely not. Was not prepared at all.
So in my case, I felt very prepared. I've known since I was like 5 that I wanted to be a mom and a wife. I get that's not everybody's story. Like that was something I wanted to be before anything. Like, you know, when people ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up? And you scream out some type of career or something. My aspirations was always, always, always a wife and a mom. Probably more of a mom than a wife. So I would say I was prepared. I think working in early childcare for like really since I was a kid, but professionally and with pay. I had been working with children for about 6 or 7 years before I had my first child. So having that professional experience and training really, really helped me in a way that I think a lot of people um, could benefit from in parenting. So I would say I was prepared. Was it planned? Not exactly. That's another story in and of itself. I was ready to be a mom. However, I was not married yet. And I was in a long-term relationship, and marriage was the plan. But things kind of like fell apart. And right when they fell apart, I found out I was pregnant like a month later.
Oh wow.
It was crazy. And so mentally and emotionally, yes, I was prepared. But as far as like not having that establishment of a marriage and a two-parent home and all that, no, I wasn't.
I would say I wasn't prepared either. I wasn't prepared, but I had the passion to be a father. Like I was willing to be a father. Um, I wanted kids. Um, I've always been great with kids, and now that I think about it, uh, the first question, when did you first become a parent? I feel like I became a parent long before I had a child that was biologically mine.
Mm.
Just from the background of me working in higher ed and then working like summer camps, some of these guys that come in who don't have father figures or strong familiar backgrounds, they tend to gravitate towards you, and they look up to you as like a father figure. So I feel
Mhm.
I'm a parent, or I even had my own kids, but was I prepared? No. But was I willing? Um, excited? Oh, for sure. And scared at the same time.
Man, I can only imagine because I don't have any kids, and but I take care of like my nephew. They have just moved in on me. Their mom is great. She's a great mom, but we stay really close to each other. And them little boys just don't go home. They live here. So I guess I am a auntie parent mom, but however the cookie crumble, like for sure. So with y'all the different walks of life, like what are you guys' disciplinary stance?
Child.
You got some you got the like spoilerized for a child, like whatever, and then you have some that's like past, just So what do you
I
guys
think
do?
it varies per child because
Mhm.
my 13-year-old needs different discipline than my 18-year. I mean, my 8-year-old. My 8-year-old, I can look at her, she'll straighten out. But that 13-year-old, he a whole different. And I don't know if it's because he a boy and he a teenager or what, but it take a little more than a look for him. That 8-year-old, like I said, I can just look at her and she straighten up, and it's over with. But my son, whew,
I agree. I think it varies. It varies by the child. I think one of the things. I mean, I don't know everything about parenting. I've only been a parent for going on 10 years, but I think one of the things that I've learned that I don't think the generation before us really taught us, or maybe didn't know themselves, is that when it comes to discipline, you really have to approach it as an individual method. Like you can't you can't parent each child the same way. You got different personalities, you have different developmental stages, just different ways that the kids respond to, different things, and you have to learn that child. So for me, I'm learning that um I have to be stern because I do have boys, and at the same time, I have to learn how to balance that with nurturing because they need both. They need the nurturing and they need the disciplinary. And me being military is a huge part of me and how I approach things. But like Sha was saying, like I could just look at one of my kids and they'll straighten up. But then the other ones I gotta be like, okay, so you want some wall sits or so, you know what I'm saying? And growing up, my parents, you gonna get your butt toe up and you gonna get it together and we gonna move on.
Yeah.
But but I've learned that even with me and my siblings, we all responded differently to that. And when you see how we turn out as adults, it kind of makes you think like what worked, what can I do different, and how do I approach this with my children. My household, they have myself and my husband, and it's so crazy. It kind of makes me mad. Like I can tell them to do something 10,000 times and they won't do it, or they're slow with it. Dad come in the house, say one thing and everybody just jump straight to it. I'm like, bro.
Yeah, it's something about a man. It's something about a man, yeah. For sure.
Yes, like that male presence. I know with the new age social media stuff today and the whole battles between one, I don't know what's with that, but children
You gotta
need
have both.
They
Yeah,
need
you gotta
both.
have both.
Whether that's your spouse, your partner, or another male figure, they need both. And so we're conscious about balancing that out as far as it goes with discipline.
My stance on discipline has, if I'm being honest, it has evolved, because when I first became a parent, my first instinct was, well, I'm just gonna do what my mom and daddy did, to me. Like, but I think the thing with me is, on my side of the family, my daughter Grace was the first grandchild, and she was a girl. And if you talk to my daddy, my kids ain't really my kids; they his kids. So like I would be like going hard in the paint, like when they were young, like when they started kind of knowing right from wrong, I would be like on them tough. And my daddy one day was like, son, they kids, son. And I'm looking at my daddy like, bro,
What was I?
wait a minute.
What was I?
Who are you?
You was raising me.
Because they got some different energy with them grandkids. The energy is not the same.
That's what I'm saying. So it's kind of like now, when I joke with my dad about this, he's like, "Oh well, now I get to do all the things I know I was supposed to do with the grandkids. Like now it's the gentle parenting. Now they know gentle parenting, but when I was coming through, it was WEWCW. I broke the head with elbows." But I had to learn, and I think to Indigo's point, our parents, this is what me and my brother and my sister had to realize a few years ago. And I think this is where we gave our parents grace. We had to come to the understanding that our parents did the best with what they had. Because understand, our parents came from that generation of, especially the men, you ain't crying, you don't show no emotion, shut up, stop crying, don't feel. Like all of that other stuff. So now our generation, who was a little bit more with like our emotions and trying to figure things out and deal with childhood trauma, and better understand why we think the way that we do. And I think that has played a large impact on how I discipline my kids. Now, I will get them if I need to get them, but at the same time, my approach now is let's talk about this. Now, disrespect, because I just had to get on to my young one because she was telling her mama no. Who do what? You telling who no? And you don't no. We don't do that. But when I get on her, I have this emotional intelligence piece that allows me to come back and say, hey, I need you to do what you're supposed to be doing. Do you love your mama? Yes. So why are you not doing what she's telling you to do? And you know what they say. Well, I don't know, because we say this. It's it's just that reinforcing. Hey, we care about you, but we're raising you a certain way, and there's some things that you just cannot do, and you can't understand it now, but later on you'll understand it. So I think my discipline evolves. Watch this as I evolve, and I get who I am as a man, and I deal with my own issues. rather than taking it out on my kids.
Mm-hmm. But I definitely believe it's necessary. Like I teach now, I teach ninth grade English. So teenagers, 14, 15-year-olds. And I don't know what changed between when we were growing up versus now and with these kids growing up, but I get it. We are trying to, like he said, evolve and make sure we are approaching things in a healthier way. But there's a balance. You can't be too far to the left or too far to the right.
Yeah.
And what some people credit as gentle parenting is really just permissive parenting or not parenting at all, because it's too exhausting to really just think about it and how to do it the right way than to just, not do it at all. It's like, I don't have the energy or the time for these kids. They can just do what they want to do. And guess what? You're not the only one affected by that. Society is affected by that. That kid has to go outside of your house. And if they don't respect you, what makes you think they're going to respect the next person that they're interacting with, whether that be their peers or another authority? And that's what I'm seeing a lot and facing, especially in my profession. So, yeah, for us, it's finding balance. And like he said, if we need to get them, we will. But it's always the last resort. I'm never just going to come in and, spanking my child or whatever. That's a last resort. And I don't necessarily believe in spanking like toddlers and babies, and they don't understand or know what they're doing if you haven't
kids
communicated with them. You know what I'm saying? And I see a lot of that too. And I know some of it is just ignorance, and I'm not saying that word derogatory, but some of it is just people being unlearned and don't know a different way. But some of it is just people just not being patient and don't care to. Like they just doing what they want to do and they don't care how the child turns out. But yeah, I agree. I think that there is definitely a level of learning yourself, healing yourself, and then approaching it from that healed place.
That's good. And ignorance is just a lack of knowledge, and
Mm-hmm.
that's something that I'm seeing as well. So, what is keep in mind, I'm a single Christian woman, no kids. So, what is it? And I have twin brothers. My mom has three kids total. Me, I'm the oldest, and I have two younger twin brothers. So, what is the difference between parenting a girl opposed to parenting a guy? Because growing up for me, my mom was so hard on me, but she let them boys get away with murder. And
Some
I'm
of
like,
it is
Mom,
because you were the oldest, though. Like our parents put a lot on the older child.
that's
That's
right.
why they was that generation. Like they put more on the older kid than they did on the young kid. You're responsible for them, even though those aren't your kids. And I feel like our generation do a better job of not doing that to our kids, not making our oldest child responsible for the smaller child because it's not their kid. They're a sibling. Yes, you want them to like protect their younger siblings and stuff, but it's not their job to teach them and raise them. I feel like our parents did that to us.
Yeah.
Well, not mine per se, but like our generation. I feel like there was more done to us than what we doing to our kids. So that's probably why. And you're a girl. Most girls are more mature up here than boys are. So even if you had an older brother, your mama probably would have still made you responsible because girls are just more mature like that. And you're born to be a nurturer. Girls are born to be nurturers. You're born to be a mother, so you're gonna naturally be like that. And I feel like that's why they put it on us more.
So for y'all, like, what's the difference between like parenting a boy and a girl? Because Indigo, you just had a precious baby girl. I love that for you.
Thank you.
And Robert, you got five. Well, is five total? Two biological.
Extended five. Out of those five, three are girls.
Three
So
are girls. Okay, and
yeah.
then Shad, you is a girl. So, like, what differences do y'all see parenting boys and girls?
I really can't answer that because I don't have boys. I know growing up for me, I have an older brother and I have a younger sister, so I'm in the middle. So I'm not the oldest, and I ain't the youngest, and I ain't the girl. So I feel uh, I got the rough part of the raising. I felt like my brother was the golden child. My sister is a beast. I'm talking about she is a mixture between me and my brother. She is just dope. My sister Jacoby. She's about to finish her doctorate degree, so shout out to her. But I feel like I was in the middle and I was the one that had to do everything by myself. Everything by myself. I felt like I say all the time I got the rough part of the race. But I feel like for me as a man raising girls, it it really makes me tap into, and I'm gonna say this word, um, because we don't like to use this word when it comes to manhood. I feel like I have to tap into my femininity, if you will. Um, my girls have really softened my heart.
Mhm.
Where there was some rough, and I'm still where I'm still working on, but there were some very rough places in my heart, and when I had my girls, all of that started being chipped away by how they just smile at you, talk to you, how they just think that you're just all of this, even when you feel like that you are as a man. Uh, it's raising a girl being is really transformative if you allow it to really get into the cracks and crevices of all that you are as a man. Um, I think where we get things mixed up is we feel like we're and what I found, and I'll let the people who have to talk. What I found is when you raise men to be rough, you raise them to be emotionless, when they get older, they will find themselves searching for emotion, searching for this soft place that they know nothing about in wrong areas
Mhm.
of lives. So they again they think a soft place has to be a woman, and it doesn't have to necessarily be that. A soft space could literally be you discovering who you are, dealing with your trauma, going to therapy and sitting down and talking to somebody to work through issues that you have because you can't just keep walking around here saying, well, this is just how I am. I've always been that way. Not
Mhm.
excuse for you to continue toxic habits, traits that you have, right? So for me, being a man raising girls, it has caused me to really tap into this. Here's a better word, vulnerability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't really speak to the parenting part of boys versus girls because my baby girl is only 4 months. But with raising boys, so I initially was a single mom. My oldest son was from a previous relationship, but only for like a year. So by the time the real, deep parenting came in, I was married. But I initially came into it with the mindset that okay, this is a boy. You know what I'm saying? I can only do so much or teach him so much, but there will come a point where he's going to need that male interaction to take him further, right? And he'll be 10 in May. So we're now in the thick of it where I'm starting to see those male traits mature, and as a mom, my mind is like, oh my God, I don't really know where to go from here. So hey, dad, I need you to pick up the reins a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? And thankfully his biological father and my husband both are active in his life. So he gets something that a lot of kids don't get, when it comes to what people consider broken homes or broken families or whatever. And I'm thankful to God for that. And he also has my dad. Everybody know I'm a daddy's girl. Everybody know my daddy. Like we are tight. And so he's always had my dad. And so that we are now in that phase where I'm realizing, okay, he's not in that baby nurturing phase anymore. He still needs my nurturing, but I will have to figure out what that looks like as he journeys through and gets, as he's getting older. But now I'm kind of taking a step back and letting those men come in and show him and teach him and talk to him, communicate with him about what it looks like to be a healthy man, a healthy young man. But with my girl, that's my girl. Like where I go, she goes. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, that's my job. You know what I'm saying? So I don't expect my husband, my dad, you know, those male figures in her life to take her like I do my boys, if that makes sense. Because as a woman, what she sees in me is what she's gonna think a woman should be. You know what I'm saying? So I think that is very important for me even now to be top tier, you know, on my P's and Q's to make sure that her view of in my case a godly woman, because I'm very rooted in my faith, to make sure her view of a godly woman is something that's positive, well rounded, and obviously what the Lord says a godly woman should be. So that's what I would say the difference is. Now, as far as my upbringing, I can relate or resonate with what you said. I was the oldest in my household. And then my parents divorced and they both got remarried, and I gained two more brothers. So I have four brothers under me. And that looked like me being a mom at a very young age. And it wasn't that my parents forced it on me. It was just, you know, my mom went her way, and then my dad was raising us by himself. So the natural nurturer in me was like, okay, these are my babies. You know, these are my brothers that I have to protect, that I have to make sure they have a meal at home. I was always pretty intelligent. So helping them with their homework, making sure they got what they needed done every evening, just to kind of help my dad out. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that it just came natural for me. It wasn't something that was expected of me per se. Now, of course, my dad would be like, all right, y'all go somewhere. Y'all know you're supposed to look out for each other. You look out for your little brothers. You know what I'm saying? And if one fight, y'all better be,
Okay.
y'all better be fighting. We all throwing hands. So that was just something that was it just came natural. So I think there's two parts to it. But my dad also, like my brothers, I wouldn't say they had more freedom than I did. Um, I just think he talked to them different than he did me. Like the conversation with them was, you go out, you make a baby. As a man, you're still responsible for X, Y, Z. You know, you need to be making sure you're caring for um, women that you encounter a date or whatever, being respectful, approaching them a certain way. The conversation with me was, you respect yourself. You make sure you present yourself, you know, in a way that doesn't give off that men or boys can treat you any kind of way, and this is how you present yourself and what have you. But if you bring a baby home, it's a little different, because that's your body who's having to carry that child. That's your body, you know, that's going through all the things that that male won't have to endure, which is true. There is a bit of a difference there. So those types of conversations, once we became teenagers, obviously was different. But I think, in all fairness, he tried his best to approach it as even as he could, you know. But I just think there's naturally a little bit of a difference there.
The shot you have,
Okay.
and a boy.
I do. And I'm gonna be honest. I feel like the difference between the girl and the boy thing with me is I was very immature when I had my son. So me and him kind of grew up together a little bit. I had a lot of learning to do with him. So by the time I had my daughter, I was a little older, and I'm way more softer with her than I was my son. And I kind of feel like a lot of his issues come from me being too hard on him in the beginning. And he's like, it makes him rebellious more. And also, like, my daughter, she had her dad. Like, from day one, she had her dad. So she's a different type of kid. She's very loving. She's just a different type of kid. And I feel like that makes a big difference with them. That's like, even though, and they got a big age, they 5 years apart too. So I don't know if that's a big deal too. But the boy, it's just, I don't know if it's a boy thing or a puberty or what. But he the child that's taking me down through there right now. I'm gonna be real. He cut different. And I don't know if some of it's genetics. I don't know if it's I was a young mama. I don't know if I dropped the ball on his head or something when he was baby. I don't know. But it's different. But like I said, my daughter, she cool, calm, and collect. And I do feel like a lot of it is she did have her dad since day one. Like she always had him. And I know that makes a difference in kids. Like my son, he didn't get that. And it was just me and him, and I was a young mama, and I was learning. I was learning, and then the maturity just wasn't there with him. So I don't know if it's a gender thing. I think it was more of a me thing with them, with my age and stuff like that. But I don't know.
So, can I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask a question to you, Shy. So, all of what you just acknowledged right then
Mm-hmm.
about you saying, me and my son, we grew up together, like I was learning and all of this other stuff, right? Have you ever sat him down and had a conversation with him to, to express that and to also be like, look, I know you feel like your mom is hard on you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry that you feel that way, and not to make any excuse, but again,
Right.
like this is something that our generation never gets.
Right.
I can't tell you when I ever heard my parents tell me they were sorry for something.
Yeah. Yeah. We have those conversations. I'm
And
very open with my kids. So yeah, we've had that conversation.
that's good. That's good.
But I feel like this generation is different.
Yeah.
These kids ain't trying to hear nothing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they ain't trying to.
I feel you.
They don't really trying to hear. And they think you corny when you try to actually talk to them. Because, like, we didn't come from the parents that really just set us down. You was going to do this, that, and the third. And that was it. But, like, with my kids, like, I try to get in my son's head. Like, hey, what's going on? Like, I try to talk to him first. That's our first thing. And then we go from there. But he don't want to talk. So I tell him how I feel and where I'm coming from, but he don't want to reciprocate it back to me in a positive way. He more like, I feel like he'll talk to more other people better than he'll talk to me, and that's where the therapy comes in. It.
I just want to ask that because again, like I can't tell you when my dad ain't finna tell you he's sorry.
Yeah.
My daddy, and I love my daddy. Y'all know me. My daddy ain't sorry. He gonna be like, now look, I ain't finna tell you I'm sorry. And he'll tell you that. I meant what I said. And I'm like, I pop, you got it, my guy. You got it.
Yeah. Look, my husband is the same way. Like, I'm the mom, I'll be done blame something on the wrong child and everything. It wasn't even me. It was so, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, my bad. My husband, oh no, he is not gonna say I'm sorry or none of that. He gonna be like, oh, you all right, go on back. But
that's the good thing about kids having 2-parent households, though. That's that balance that they really need.
Yeah.
So that works.
And we'll talk about it later. I'll be like, now, babe, we're supposed to be the example. You know what I'm saying? You can't tell them they need to apologize to each other when they, mess up and you not willing to do it or whatever. But it's really pride, to be honest. Like, and I think maybe I shouldn't say this collectively, but in some cases, men struggle with that a lot more than women do. Because that's a part of being a man. It's their pride, So I think that sometimes until they get to the point where they can chip away at that a little bit, it's probably going to be a harder struggle for them, especially with children. Because it's like, I'm the head of the household. I'm the one that everybody's supposed to be, to some level following and emulating. And so it's like, for me to mess up, for me to be the one that, isn't perfect or whatever, I think it's harder for them to come to the realization of that. But with your son, does he have a strong male figure?
Yeah.
So that person may be the person that he's more comfortable with at this stage in his life.
Mm-hmm.
Being a teenager and transitioning into that young adult stage, I don't think it's that you've done anything wrong per se. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the experience of parenting a teenager yet, and Lord knows I am not in any rush based on the
Whew.
stories that I hear all the time.
Yeah.
But my son is turning 10, so he's going into that preteen.
Mm-hmm.
And we have gotten to the place where we butt heads some too. And I'm like, what happened to my little sweet baby who would just do
I
whatever I
say that
told
every
him to
day.
do?
I say that every day. Like,
And not,
what happened?
fight me on it. And it
Mm-hmm.
gets so annoying and frustrating sometimes. 'Cause it's like, bro, if you just do what I ask you to do, you're gonna have no problems. You know what I'm saying? But I'm learning with him that I have to present choices and I have to make him feel like he's in control of whatever it is that I'm asking him to do. And usually he responds a little differently, but that defiance is something that I think all kids go through in some level, but with those boys, especially ones who are natural born leaders, when they are natural born leaders, they have to be taught how to navigate that. But it's hard for them to understand at those early ages, preteen and teen, that you have to be a follower before you can be a leader. You have to follow, not everybody, obviously, follow a good, strong leader and learn how to be a leader before you can even walk in that leadership. And that's something that I think is going to take male on male interaction for them to get. And with him being that 13-year-old, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I can only imagine, what you are dealing with as a mom, but that whoever that male leader, that male figure is, hopefully positive one, they'll
Mm-hmm.
probably be able to get him through that a little.
Yeah.
That's good. I didn't have growing up. I didn't have any male positive male role models in my life at all. I saw men as unsafe, as drunks, as abusive. Um, this is why I took the turn of being homosexual so long. The God came and saved me and changed my heart. But that male figure, to the point, the male figure, that male positive male role model, I feel like probably would have deterred me from that lifestyle. My dad died when I was a baby, didn't know him, all the things. But yeah, strong male figures are important. My next question is, two of the three of you guys are married, I believe. But my next question is, when is it appropriate time to introduce your child um, another, your boyfriend, girlfriend, or whatever? And do you think that it's a conversation with the actual parent is necessary for introducing your child? Because I know women get out of a relationship. My thing is, I don't. If I had kids, I'm not going to introduce my kids to different people. It has to be some kind of consistency, longevity for me to introduce, my kids to you. So for you guys, like, when is the appropriate? If you're not married, I mean, y'all are, but how do you guys answer that question?
I think the appropriate time is when you like know that it is getting serious, or you're ready to take it to the next level. Um, I will say, depending on the situation, I think the conversation needs to be had. But sometimes people don't have healthy relationships with the other child's parent to have that conversation, and you don't necessarily want to uh, cause the person that you are trying to do life with, or get more serious with, any extra issue or any extra drama. But at the same time, the person that you are with has to know and understand, like, I'm gonna be the buffer between this, but this conversation needs to be had because this child is biologically ours, and out of respect, I want you to so kind of see each other and talk and ask whatever questions. And then after this, if it's not healthy, then we don't ever have to talk again. Um, but if it is healthy, like, it's important to nurture this So again, it's all about, like we talked. There was a talking about villages, right? Get the village to raise a child, even beyond yourself, even beyond other co-parent. If so, I think at the point that you know that you are going to get serious, and if you're getting married or something like that, then I think it is inappropriate to start your kids around a person. And I would always say that if it is healthy, like have a conversation with the other.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's at that point where you because when you're dating, everybody isn't the one, obviously.
Right.
Um, and I'm one of those people. I never tell anyone how to do their thing. However, what is in the best interest of that child? I think that's what everybody should be asking if you're a parent or if you're involved with someone who's a parent. And like for me, um, I think it's a little bit different if you also if you're the custodial parent based on if you're not the custodial parent, meaning if the child lives with you versus if it doesn't. There's a difference there too. Because obviously if they don't live with you, you have more time, you have more space to bring that person into without having to worry about your child being directly affected versus the other way around. That child lives with you, so you got to know where they're going to be when you're going out dating with this person. If they're coming to your home, are they around your child during that time? All these things you have to think about. And that's what I had to think about when I was dating. Um, Now, my situation was a little unique because I ended up marrying my childhood best friend. So this man knew my baby all his life. He was actually his godfather prior to us getting into a romantic relationship. So he already knew Carrie, but he was a baby, but he knew him. So it wasn't the same as when I was dating other guys that obviously didn't know my son, but you weren't coming to my house for quite some time. That was just a me thing initially, even before I had a kid, just out for my own safety and out of respect for myself. Those were boundaries that were always there when I was dating. But with a child, like Mama Bear is here now. I gotta protect my space for the sake of myself and my child. So men did not meet my kid until I felt like, okay, you're a good person, this could actually be going somewhere. But I usually knew that within the first 3 months or so. Like, I know if I could see myself with you for the rest of my life or not. And if I couldn't at that point, then I'm sorry, we're going to have a conversation and we're going to go our separate ways. Now, they would know I had a child because I think that's important and I think it's fair. I think that you should be upfront with people if you're dating and let them know, hey, I'm a mother or I'm a father and I have this many kids and this is what my life looks like. And that way they can make an informed decision on whether or not they're going to continue to pursue you. So I think that's fair. And also having the conversation, do you want kids? Are you willing to take on the responsibility of helping me raise another person's child? Or do you want to start your own family from scratch? Those are conversations I think people skip and then they get themselves into situations that could have been avoided. But as far as introducing someone to your child, I think you should definitely be cautious. And like he said, like Robert said, it should come at a point where you probably anticipate this being something more serious. And if another parent is involved, for me, initially my son's biological dad was not active. Like his family was, but he wasn't. And some of it was because he was military and he was deployed often, but some of it was also by choice. So I had to ask myself, do I owe it to him to have a conversation with him about Carrie and I going further, or do I just move on because it's not like he's been, that involved anyway. But me being me, I did still have that conversation with him so that there would never be, well, you didn't tell me that this other man was going to be around so that would never be. Plus, I put myself in his shoes. If for some reason things got better, which now they have, at that time, I was just praying and hoping they would. And I was just like, if it got to the point where, I don't know, maybe I got deployed or whatever, and my son had to be with him, would I want to know if another woman was around my child? Absolutely. Absolutely. So, with considering that, I made the decision to definitely have a conversation with him. When Carrie proposed and we got engaged, I definitely had a conversation with him. Okay, now it's real serious. We're getting married, which means we're gonna be living together, and this man is gonna be a huge part of Chase's life. So at this point, I think it's necessary for y'all to meet. And I also think that you should know that this is what's happening in my life. This is a transition that's going to happen. And I don't think I asked how you feel about it because I didn't care. but but that, there may be a question people ask. How do you feel about this person or whatever, So
I'm with you. It don't matter. I'm just common courtesy of telling you what I got going on. Because this is
Yeah.
your child. So how you feel, you can tell me, but okay.
You still gonna make that decision, yeah.
I'm still
Yeah.
this is going forward, this is what's going on.
Yeah. True.
So Shy, what's your take on it?
With me, I feel like don't nobody love my kids more than I do. So I'm not gonna put them around nobody that I know that's gonna do them any type of harm. However, I don't know. As far as like a time frame, I think you kind of know if you're gonna be serious enough with a person or not to bring your kids around them. So it just depends, because I mean, some people fall in love in a month, some people fall in love in 2 months. I mean, it kind of just depends on you and what you feel like. Because most of us have a spirit of discernment, so you can tell if a person want to be there for the long haul or if they don't.
Yeah.
So me, I'm not bringing my kids around nobody that I know that's not gonna be around.
Yeah.
Like, that's just bottom line. With my son, he gonna be a man one day. He's gonna be a husband one day. So he need to know how to do stuff. And with my daughter, you just can't do anything in front of girls. So I'm not with the whole everybody come around your kids, everybody know where you live. I don't do that. So if you come around my kids, more than likely I feel like me and you gonna have something for the long haul. And as far as asking the other parent, I'm not doing that. I ain't even gonna fake it with you. I'm not doing it. Because I know what's best for me and my kids. And I don't feel like I owe the other parent that. So, because you walked away yourself. So, hey, you can't tell.
Yeah.
No, not doing. I don't feel like I owe that person that. But everybody's situation is different. Me and my kids' daddy relationship is different from other people. So, but yeah, I'm not doing that part. But I am very picky about who comes around my kids.
I think it depends on the child's ages too, because if you have like smaller kids, that's gonna be a different approach. But if you have like teenagers, first of all, you can't fool teenagers.
Yeah.
They know what's going on. So like my dad didn't marry until all of us were out of the house and doing our own thing. But when he did date, we met the few women that he dated, I think pretty early on, but they were also older.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that, they weren't like 20s and 30s. We're talking 40, 50-year-olds. But he would always ask me too, being that I was probably 16, 17 when he started dating. I'm his daughter. And so he would ask me like, okay, how you feel about so and so? You know what I'm saying? But we always met them more early on versus when he felt like if he felt like it would be for the long haul. So I think, like Sha said, it's a case by case scenario based on what's going on.
But I can be serious about you and still not let you meet my kids yet.
True. Yeah.
Because that's how I was some years ago before I got married. Again, like I can be serious or like be thinking seriously about maybe taking something to the next level. But like my kids, I told y'all it's a soft space for me. And I black out. I black out my kids. And I have no no holds barred. Like when it comes to my girls, I do not play. So even from a man's perspective, I'm just for me. I'm not gonna let everybody be around my kids. Like, my Facebook page isn't private. You can go on there and see my kids. You can go on there and see what little bit I choose about my life. But I can be serious about you, and you still not meet my kids just yet at all, because that is an even deeper sacred space when it comes to like being in a relationship with someone. So
So, just two more questions. We're gonna wrap up. Not gonna hold y'all long. I'm appreciative of you guys accepting the invitation. So, do you feel like there's such thing as like black parenting or white parenting? And what do you guys' take on gentle parenting? Because I went to this establishment a couple of days ago, and the mama just kept on telling the kids, "Y'all get out of my office, get out of my office," and nobody moved. This is a situation. Nobody moved. The little girl still on her phone, little baby doing it. So she got to screaming at them. They moved, but everybody came back like 3 minutes later. So the teenagers on her phones, talking about, I'm gonna do something at homeschool or something. So I'm like, in my mind, what lady? Like, baby, what's going on with you? Like, in a black home, when I say go, do as I do as I say, don't do as I do. Like, oh, that's probably toxic, that we didn't take the realization of it. But I'm looking like, oh, no, you're right. Because if it was a black mama, oh no, one time. Right. So what do you guys take on? Is it black parenting, white parenting, and what's your guys' take on gentle parenting?
I think culturally there is a difference.
I'm gonna say culture.
And
Culturally, definitely.
I don't want to call it black parenting and white parenting, because there's some black people I'll be looking at like, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And I know some white parents that I'm talking about, stay on ready. Stay on ready. Stay on ready. But I wanna say this, and I am um I don't want to say I'm a history buff, but I am one who loves to read and research, especially when it comes to knowing where we come from and who we are, because they don't teach us that in school anymore, and they're not going to this whole DEI thing. There is a difference culturally, because when you look back through history, our grandmamas, great grandmamas, and all of that were in the white folks' houses raised.
Yep. Yep.
So when you talk about the blueprint of discipline and child rearing, I will say that our ancestors, grandmothers and great grandmothers and great 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 grandmamas and our aunties built the blueprint of what it looks like to raise and rear children in a very strong, nurturing, and consistent way. I will offer that, and I will leave it there, because I ain't trying to go down this rabbit hole of the implications of slavery and the dynamic of the family and other stuff. I just ain't gonna do it. This is not that call. But I would say culturally, there is a very distinct difference. Now, again, there are some black parents who, when it comes to parenting their kids, it's wild, or they don't have a good handle on the discipline or the consistency. And when I say discipline, I'm not talking about corporal punishment. I ain't talking about whooping your child. I'm just talking about consistency in the discipline. Hey, don't do this. Hey, don't go that way. If you put your hand on the stove while it's hot, your hand is gonna burn. All right, go on and see for yourself then, right? And as far as gentle parenting, this terminology gets thrown around a lot. I just gentle parenting is just awareness. I think parenting awareness of, okay, I was raised this way, but I'm in a different time now. I'm different than my parents were, and just because my parents did it doesn't necessarily mean that I have to do it. I.e., I'm going in on Grace Elizabeth Webb, and my daddy like, son, like, my boy, what was you doing when I was 3?
Where was this guy?
It's
I got food at home.
level of awareness. So I think gentle parenting is you saying, okay, just because it happened to me doesn't necessarily mean that I have to do it. There could be another way that I could approach this problem and this issue. Like, because it was like, whoop ass, ask questions later. I'm just going to.
Yeah.
I'm really like adopting. I heard I was in a leadership development like seminar workshop like last week, and the speaker was talking about the rule of 6, where you ask yourself, what are 6 other reasons something could have happened versus the one that I run to? Showed up late for work today. Well, Robert showed up late because he just want to make my life hard and he don't like me and he just want to get on my nerve. No, let's do the rule of 6. Let's ask ourselves, well, what else could have happened? Perhaps perhaps something happened at home. He got kids. Maybe they didn't feel well and he didn't have time to. So I'm trying to operate in this rule of 6 where when I'm like, Hannah, why are you telling your mama no when she tell you to do something? Well, maybe she ain't no rule of 6 with that. I got
That's cut and dry, yeah.
No. But that's my take on it. I think gentle parenting is just awareness. And then culturally, there are some differences, especially when you look at the role that especially the Black woman has played in the household of America. Here.
My Lord. Come on in the room. Yeah, somebody take mic drop. He just dropped the mic. Somebody pick it up and run. Pick it up and run with it.
Yeah, I think in our house, I'm more of the disciplinarian. My husband's like super laid back, but my husband is also how do I put it? So he's like the parent that long as y'all over there and ain't bothering me, we good. You good, I'm good, we good. And I come home and be like, bro, they got toilet bowl water all over the where was you when this was happening? You know what I'm saying? And then I'm also more of a hands-on parent than the probably the average, just because like that's just my profession. So like I'm always in the weeds with my kids. If they're awake, I'm right there. I do take time to myself, but it's not often in their waking hours. Usually I'm in the kitchen, I'm fixing food, or I'm cleaning up behind somebody, or we playing dinosaurs and Power Rangers. Typically, my baby, she ain't big enough yet. I don't know what I'm gonna do with a girl, but we gonna figure
Tea parties.
But unless you like me, I was super tomboyish, but I'm really like when you see my posts and stuff, like I'm really there. That's literally my life. So I kind of have a different approach because I'm like, I was with you all day and I gave you direction and I told you what to expect, and they have structure. Like my kids have a schedule from the time they wake up to the time they go to sleep. And so I think that I get kind of frustrated when I discipline them because I've already told you 10 times today not to do XYZ. Whereas sometimes my husband just worked 12 hours and he come home and as soon as somebody do something, he like, I'm gonna tear you up. And I'm like, no. We're not gonna go straight to, let's take a step back because right now, yes, what they're doing is annoying, or maybe they know they shouldn't be doing that. But Dad, you just got home. You haven't seen them, you haven't spent time with them, you haven't even been here to tell them no. And I know you think they already know this, but we're talking 2 4-year-olds. They don't already know per se. Like this is a new day. What you told them yesterday isn't exactly still resonating with them. So I need you to take a step back for a moment and be more gentle, be more kind and patient with where you are and where they are. And even with me, like I have to do that too if I've had a long day of work. But it annoyed, I think as a mom, it's kind of us anyway. Like we can do whatever to our kids, but as soon as somebody else, we be like, hold on now.
Yeah.
Because that's my baby. It's not
Yeah.
even that kid though. This my baby. You know what I'm saying? So I have to be conscious of that too, because I'm like, this is still dad. And dad still needs to have his iron fist in the household too, especially with boys. And so I have to be conscious of taking a step back. But in those moments, like the example I gave, where you just got home and you are already ready to sling the bell, we're not gonna do that. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Because sometimes, first of all, what I try to tell people, a child's behavior always communicates something.
Yes.
Everything they do communicates something. They don't have the language to always express what they are feeling. So sometimes what looks like defiance is them saying, I just want mommy and daddy's attention.
Yeah.
I just want you to sit here with me for 30 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever. I just want you to play with me. I just want you to see me. Because we get so busy in what we're doing, especially when we have those single parent homes, or when we have one parent just working more than the other, whatever's going on. Life is busy right now. And sometimes the kids have to take the back seat and we don't even realize it.
Wow.
So we're getting frustrated with everything that we've had to deal with out here, and we're bringing it home. And we don't give them space to just simply be a kid. Kids are kids. They're gonna do things that we don't necessarily agree with or like. But I don't think that should always result in us, you know, being harsh on them. So gentle parenting for me doesn't necessarily mean avoid corporal punishment. It means take a step back, evaluate the situation, and then decide what needs to be done next. But as far as is there white parenting versus black parenting, that's always funny to me. Like he said, I think it's culturally, because I've also lived up north, and parenting that I saw up north was totally different from what I see in the South. Like it was like, whoa, this is crazy. That was a huge eye opener for Carrie and me. But also I do see a little bit of differences, but you also have, with that comes the thought of lifestyles. Like in most cases, white people have different resources than black people do. A lot of white people just come from, or they might have more money. Some of them have nannies that have, are with their kids or their family for hours. Like I have two cousins, they're nannies right now, and they tell me some wild stories. Like one of them worked for a family. Both of the parents, no, the dad is a doctor. The mom, I want to say she's like a part-time nurse or something. Like she only works like a couple hours a day, like a couple days a week, but she nannies for them at night, but the mom is home at night. So I was like, how does that make sense? And she was like, well, he just wants her to be able to get sleep. So instead of her getting up with the baby throughout the night, we hired a nanny so that the nanny can take care of the baby through the night so she can sleep, and then she takes care of the baby during the day. And I was like, okay. you know, Not my preference, but okay, but it's things like that that I don't think we look at societally. Like sometimes that there's differences in resources, there's differences in, just what they've seen growing up or whatever. And I think those are real things, but I don't think that it's a collective, if that makes sense. Because that could go either way.
Yeah.
It's like, what you think about this parenting?
Um, like I said, parenting varies per child. Me personally, my experience in parenting is I tried so hard not to be like my parents, the way they parented, because I don't think it's healthy. You know what I'm saying? So I struggle with it. Sometimes I can't find a middle ground. Either I'm low or I'm high, but I feel like some of it, I should bring into my parents and how my parents were. But as far as being too gentle, I don't feel like that's always a good approach for my kids, because they kind of take advantage of me. Like if I like my daughter, if I tell her, So now when you get home today, clean their room. She don't clean their room. If I talk like that, and then I say, hey, I said, then she'll jump. So the gentle thing don't work for my kids. They run over me. Like if I'm too nice to them, they run over me. And then when I get the hooping and hollering, then they they get it. But my stepmama, she a social worker, and she told me she told me when Kate was little, and she was right. She said, Shy, you gotta have more than one voice with your kids. Hollering at them all the time, they're not gonna never take you serious. You gotta have more than one voice with them. And that's something I wish I would have started from the beginning, because I think me and my son would be in a different place. So I feel like if I would have did that back then, I could be a gentle parent. But I feel like I'm working backwards, if that makes sense. Like I honestly feel like if I would have being more gentle when they were smaller, when he was smaller, then we wouldn't be here. But at the same time, as far as the black and white, it's a thing. We all know it's a thing.
I'm gonna give you an example of something that happened to me the other day. I was picking my daughter up from daycare, and they have these little iPads set up in the front for you to do sign ins and sign outs. So I'm sitting there typing my stuff in, trying to sign her out, and this white dad and his son were on the iPad next to me. So his son goes over to my iPad while I'm typing. He's deleting what I'm typing and just like pushing stuff. So I'm trying to be, I'm like, I said, hold on, let me finish. I'm trying, this ain't my kid. So I'm steady typing. He's steady doing it. So I look at the daddy like, are you going to say something?
Yeah.
And I almost like grabbed his hand to move it. I'm like, Lord, I don't want these folks talking about
this ain't my kid.
So I said, so I tried to tilt it. He moves with it. So I'm like,
oh my.
So I just stood back and folded my hands. And finally the dad was like, oh, you're so silly. What are you doing? And I looked.
Yeah, see.
I'm like, had that been my child, boy,
Yeah.
move out the way.
Because you know better. You know better.
But I do, like, it made me think because I do experience that quite often. And then just so happened that same evening, I don't know if y'all seen it yet, but there's like a viral video going on Facebook where this, I guess they were at like a football game or something, and this little white girl is like throwing pom-poms at the little black girl, and then she threw them at this black man's face, and she's just acting a fool, and nobody's stopping her. Like, she just there doing everything. And so I go to the comments to see what people were saying, and you could see white and black people saying she should have got popped across her butt, or somebody should have told her to stop, or she just a little brat and blah blah blah. There were both in the comments. So I was like, okay. So I think like Robert and I were saying, there I do see it, but I also think it's more of a cultural mindset thing rather than a color thing. Yeah. Because it's a thing for sure.
Yeah, it is.
Because with my nephews, I'm very hands-on. I love them. I watch their springtime. I'm in their schools. I'm just all around. Brandon, like, we locked in. So I say something one time. Cool. Say something 2 times. Cool. Give me them tablets. Oh, they're going to get up and get the moving. If I have to whoop them, Lord knows I have to bring out the belt. Like, I'm crying in the inside. Because I'm like, this is, just listen. So I definitely agree with all that has been said. The last question is, what has been your craziest parent experience? We're going to go out with the bang.
I'm going to say my kids be born.
Huh?
Like,
I was about to say the first thing that
comes to mind. Be born.
I think that's what we all thought.
That was the first thing that came to mind was childbirth.
I'm just saying, listen, when I'm around men who want to start talking about what women should and should not be doing, bodies pro-choice, pro-life, I had to be like, hey, y'all get and sit down and shut up, because clearly y'all ain't seen no woman
right.
your baby for 9 months, and you ain't peeked your head around that curtain, brother. When I tell you, I get somewhere and I sit down. I ain't got nothing to say about what a woman should or should not do with her body. Baby, I be like this. I yield. Y'all got it. Yeah.
That ain't
You
your
need some water.
conversation, huh?
You need some water. What you need? You want pickles, ice cream? What do you need? Because I'm finna go get it. I'm gonna shut up. I'm gonna sit down. Yeah, craziest. The crazy. Yes, and what it does to the woman's body, like nope. That's the
Lot.
craziest thing to me.
It's definitely a
Crazy.
lot. Pregnancy and childbirth is a lot. Like it's a lot. I don't care how much somebody enjoy it. It's still a lot. That was the first thing that come to mind, but I would have to say when my son busted his face wide open. Oh my God. Oh
Ooh,
my
the
God.
boys.
So this was my youngest son. I had just had my baby girl. She was only like, I think 3 weeks old at the time. So mind you, my emotions and stuff is all over the place already. My hormones everywhere. And we have been telling them, so we have this super long hallway in our house, and they love to run up and down this hallway. Excuse me. We don't wear shoes in my house. So he had socks on, and of course they were like running and sliding with their socks. And we had told him 10,000 times, stop running in the house. Stop running in the house. Stop running in the house. And this one particular moment, I had picked up my phone, and I don't know if I was on social media checking emails. I don't know, but I'm looking at my phone. He ran through, and next thing I know, he fell. I mean, straight head first into the table, the coffee table in the living room. Now, mind you, I bought a round table with all of this in mind. Like, I got boys, they're wild. I'm thinking as long as I buy something without corners, it's safer, right? Well, no. Boys are gonna figure
They
out
gonna figure
how
out a
to
way to hurt themselves.
do the craziest thing. And so he literally just went head first. And I paused because I think initially I was in shock. And when he didn't initially like cry, so it was like this long, it felt like the longest silence ever, and then he just screams, and he looks up and blood is everywhere.
Oh,
I have to like, I don't know if I threw my baby down or what, but I had to put my baby down on the couch, and I immediately just fall into him. I wrap my shirt. I don't know what all I did. I just went into savior mode or whatever, and I'm screaming for my husband. I'm like just screaming at the top of my lungs because I don't know how bad this is. All I see is blood. And I got him covered in my chest. I'm trying to call my dad because we wanted my dad to get the other kids while we rushed him to the hospital. My dad wasn't answering the phone, so now I'm pissed at him. So I text him 911 because he got it bad rejecting phone calls when he's on the phone. And I mean, I Lord forgive me, but I went off on my daddy when when we finally talked. So I'm like, this why I done told you stop ignoring my phone call. And he's like, I'm not ignoring them on purpose. I don't know how to work this phone. And I think he was on the phone, and whatever was happening with his phone, instead of it clicking over, it like hangs up on the person or whatever. So he usually just click the reject and then try to do a custom text message. So anyway, all that was going on. I'm trying to stop his bleeding. His bleeding is not stopping. So we just throw them all in the car. I don't even know if everybody was properly in the car seat. I know the baby was, but I don't know about everybody else. I'm holding him, my husband zooming through. We live in Little Rock. Well, we live in Maumelle. So we had to drive through Little Rock to Children's, which was like a 15-minute drive. And then we get to Children's and it's a million people in there. So my baby, we got there, I think like 6:30 in the evening. He wasn't seen until 5:30 the next morning.
wow.
Yeah, that's how bad it was. And I asked one of the nurses, I was like, is it always like this here? And she was like, no. So it just so happened the busiest night that they had was when he did all this. So we're sitting there, his head is wide open, bleeding, and the white, like literally the white meat is bulging out. I'm scared because I'm like, I don't know if he has a head injury or what have you. And we've had to sit here for 11 hours, which means it could have gotten worse. But by the grace of God, he, showed no signs of a head injury. He did have to get stitches, which that I was in there crying like a baby. I was, because they said he was too young to sedate him. So they used some type of numbing cream, but you don't know if he's, really numbed well enough or not. And the way he was screaming, it seemed like it wasn't. But they were like, no, he's just scared because he can see the needle. I don't know which one was true. All I know was my baby was screaming at the top of his lungs, and as a mom, I couldn't take it. My husband was in there too, but he was kind of off. I was having to help them hold him down so I could literally see everything that was happening. And that was probably the craziest story, aside from childbirth, the craziest story that I have for my kids. Because, I pray I never have to go through anything like that again. That was so painful.
Yeah. Wow. I think mine would be when Caden broke his leg right before he turned 2. He broke his femur, fell down some stairs, broke his femur, and took him to St. Michael's. That's why I don't like St. Michael's, y'all. Took him to St. Michael's. They said wasn't nothing wrong with him. They x-rayed his ankle instead of his whole leg. So they was going to send him home with a broken leg. And I'm like, look, his leg is like literally swelling up. Like something is wrong with his leg. So like 10 to 15 minutes later, they come in and they was like, oh, we got to airlift him to Children's. In Little Rock, he broke his femur. Like his leg was like literally snapped in half. It wasn't like a fracture. When like it was like snapped in half.
Oh my God.
So with all of that going on, he, kids heal fast. So he had a cast on from like here all the way down the broke leg and like to his knee on the other leg. Do y'all know how heavy that boy was to tote around for 4 weeks in that cast? Mind you, we was going through the process of potty training. So all that had to stop because he couldn't walk. So I had to like go back through potty training him. It was a lot, like dealing with, and then we lived in an apartment that had stairs, so I had to tow him up and down the stairs. Like it was a lot. And mind y'all, I'm like 19 at the time. It was rough, but we got through it, and I was grateful. If it had to happen, I was grateful it happened when it did because he was so small and they heal faster when they're that young. So he better not break no bones now, because I don't know how that's gonna go. But that was my most craziest parenting moment.
How did he sit in a car seat?
The hospital give you a certain car seat that the cast will fit in. So they had to give me one, and then I had to return it when he went back to get the cast taken off.
Lord have mercy.
Yep. Oh, so it was rough. And then they gave him like oxycodone or something, like for kids. And I thought it was gonna make him go to sleep. My baby was up for 3 days. We didn't go to sleep for 3 days. What? Because that medicine had like a reverse effect on him. Mm-hmm. It was rough. When I tell you I was tired, I thank God for my cousin Tashara because we was neighbors. So we would take turns, like seeing after him and stuff. But when I tell y'all it was rough. Wow. Yeah. So I hope my other child don't break nothing because I can't. Yeah, I can't. Yeah,
we gonna pray against injuries, any broken bones, all of that. But again, I appreciate you guys coming on, being a part of this season 3, episode 3, All Things Parenting. I'm your host, cousin Terrell. If you need prayer for anything, text prayer to 903-733-7727. The number again is 903-733-7727. Be looking out for Shots Fired. It's a mini series that's on the way, as well as I Am Redeemed. Oh yeah. We are hosting our first annual speed dating event, Shoot Your Best Shot. It is Saturday, April the 5th at 7 o'clock. So if you need any information, just let us know. We definitely hope you there. And we are over there.